It's longer, a little bit wider, heavier and definitely more technologically advanced. But the first thing that you will notice about the new Z4 Roadster is that it is much prettier than its predecessor. Not surprising really, because it was designed by two women. This is not the only first for BMW, having female designers. The Z4 also marks the first time the Bavarian automaker has taken a bash at a folding metal roof. And we think Julianne, who was responsible for exterior design, did a fabulous job. It's up and down in 20 seconds, although it feels longer, and I personally found it quite noisy and clumsy. But perhaps I'm just trying to find the fly in the ointment of this gorgeous looker. Even though it's much more elegant than the previous iteration, it's still unmistakably a BMW Z4. The short rear has been given a more rounded look that's less butt and more derriere. Still sexy, but slightly more sophisticated. Side on, the lines flow beautifully into one another. It's the kind of artistry that makes you want to become a car designer and create something so easy to drool over. Up front, the kidney grille looks almost like an old-fashioned handlebar moustache, offering a more masculine feel to the curvy lines. The headlights tilting down to the side and extending into the wheel arches to maximize the impression of width. And that bonnet needs all that length. The 3-litre straight-six engine throbs at your feet while the resulting music plays behind you. The twin-turbo is providing a 225-kilowatt soundtrack worthy of an automotive Oscar. There's also a standard 3-litre engine and an entry-level 2.5, but this one we drove puts out 400 Newton-meters between 1,300 and 5,000 RPM. Pure thrill on tap, if you can drive it. Winding the bends of the stunning Baines-Kloof Pass in the Western Cape, I found it quite difficult to drive sensibly. The power does run away with you, but thankfully the handling is able to keep up. The bumpy surface of the pass made the Z4 back rather skittish and my own back rather sore, but it's a driver's car through and through. Sitting right on those rear 19 inches, you feel every bit the racer as the long front end steers you through the bends with ease. The steering is incredibly light and the brakes incredibly sharp, but the Z4 looks after you, making sure you and it never put a foot wrong. Inside, you'll find seats that keep you in place around those speedy S's. A fat steering wheel covered in leather and a notchy gear stick that requires little attention. Paddles on the steering wheel mean you can now blip your throttle without moving your fingers too much. This model boasts a standard 7-speed automatic double clutch that's effortless and smooth, never upsetting the apple cart on changes. The new Z4 has also received the iDrive treatment, the first time it's made an appearance in the Roadster. The navigation system is standard on this top-spec model, but you'll need to add it as an extra on the other two vehicles. The through-loading peephole is standard, and BMW claims that putting it to good use means you could fit 2 sets of golf clubs in the boot of the car. Didn't get to try it, believe it when we see it. So here's a new one that you haven't heard before. S-Drive. I don't know what it means. BMW can't really give us any logical explanation of why it's there, so I think we'll just have to make something up. So speedy drive, super drive, sexy drive. I think the best explanation though is schizophrenic drive. And that's because of this little button here. Dynamic drive control comes as standard across the range of new Z4, allowing you to choose normal, sport or sport plus mode. Change into the sporty settings and you get a completely different car. Sharper throttle response, harder ride, more responsive steering and certainly a more throaty sound when changing gears. The S-Drive 35i also boasts adaptive M suspension, which in addition to all the above also takes control of the damper system. All very good, except on a bumpy road with blind bends where it just scares the hell out of you. There's only one place to truly let it flex its muscles. Dion Jabeur is not just an ex-racing driver, he's a former BMW touring car driver and champion winner, now a stunt and precision driver in hot demand. In keeping with the quirky ad for the new Z4 that shows a driver having some colourful fun with the car, we thought we'd let him loose on the twin turbos at Killarney Raceway in Cape Town. The drive, how did you experience it?
Well, I spent a long time driving for BMW and we raced with straight six motors. So that sound, for me, always brings back a period in my life. And obviously the sound's very much present in this car. Just a lot more powerful nowadays, you know. So that in the first place, and then obviously the car, it's very taut for a roadster. I mean, we didn't hear any noises or anything, and its handling was absolutely amazing. I'd love to have done an out-and-out lap time and see how quick it is, but it's an amazing motor car.
And the sports suspension, how do you feel about that in terms of, obviously on the track you quite like it to be quite hard.
Yes.
How do you think that's going to translate into road driving?
Well, it didn't feel so stiff on the track, so I think it'll be okay, you know, on smoother roads. And obviously, you'll always have, we were on Sport 4, so you'd always have the option to be on a softer setting.
There was only really the one thing that bothered you about driving this car on the track, and that was the pedals on the steering wheel.
Yeah, most of the, look, in the first place, the operation of the gearbox wasn't any different really. It was as quick as any other gearbox. But I'm more used to the you know, the downshift being on the left and the upshift on the right, which is most of the cars are like that. But I think it's not something it's something you would get used to probably.
So Dion, it's 400 Newton meters of torque in this car. It's a 3-litre engine. What did you think of the way the car uses its power?
We use the car on the track a little bit more harder than you would ever be able to on the road, you know. And the handling of the car also is amazing, the grip levels, and a slight understeer at the limit, but that makes it very safe to drive. And you know, if you had to exceed the handling limits of the car to experience understeer on the road, well, I think you're going far too fast, you know. You shouldn't have a license.
Cool, so it's a very safe car to drive.
Car.